couple of the other receivers in the game that I want to address. And look, both teams have highly talented receivers who from time to time do things that make you scratch your head. And it's George Pickens for the Cowboys and Jameson Williams for the Lions. I'll start with Williams. He was not a gigantic part of the game plan, but he got targeted more than any other line with 7 catches for 96 yards. He almost had a touchdown on a running play, but he had stepped out of bounds. Replay review made that clear that he stepped out of bounds. He thought he made it in. He is one of the most talented receivers in football. He and George Pickens are right up there. The question is getting the most out of them. Now, for the Lions, it's finding a way to use him more. You got one football. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta when he's healthy. There's one ball. And Williams has already gotten a second contract, but he'd surely love to get the ball more. He'd like to show off what he can do. Every receiver wants to have the ball, especially if the team isn't winning as much as it could be or should be. That's when the very simple logic kicks in. I'm not getting the ball as much as I should, and we're not winning. If I got the ball more, we'd be winning. When you're winning, when you're 15-2, and Jameson Williams isn't getting the ball as much as maybe he should, doesn't matter. It's easier to keep that from being an issue. And I think that's one of Dan Campbell's superpowers. He's able to keep everybody on the same page. We've never heard anything about any of the offensive star players being upset about how frequently they get the ball or not. I also think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a big part of that. The leadership he provides as a player, we were talking about this last night when we were watching the game. I think that oftentimes the leadership from the players goes a lot farther than the mandates from the coaches. I think certain players, most players, are more inclined to listen to and respond to other players, whether it's quarterback, whether it's a receiver, whether it's Frank Ragnow. The Lions' offensive line has looked sloppy at times this year. Maybe Ragnow had a level of leadership and accountability that he imposed on the rest of the line, and it made a difference. Regardless, Jameson Williams is a special talent, and on other teams, it would be the Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams show, and that team would be highly successful if you use those guys to the fullest of their abilities. Now, we had seen in recent weeks the Cowboys using George Pickens to the fullest of his abilities. He had, between the Raiders game and the Eagles game, it was 144 receiving yards on 9 catches and a touchdown one week, and 146 on 9 catches and a touchdown the next week. He had a solid day, not spectacular, against the Kansas City Chiefs in the win that was the Cowboys' 3rd in a row. Something seemed off with Pickens last night. I love studying football player demeanor. Usually it's the quarterback that you can glean the most from about how the day's going and what kind of a vibe he's sending out to the rest of the team. But last night, Pickens seemed a little disengaged, a little disinterested. There was one play where he kind of lollygagged on his route. The ball came to him. He didn't make the catch. You could see that Dak Prescott had something to say after that. It just felt like he was a little off last night. And the opportunity was there when CeeDee Lamb suffered a concussion. It was clearly a concussion. We look for the fencing posture when a guy hits the ground. And when CeeDee Lamb came down hard on the artificial turf at Ford Field, hit his head, we saw the arms go up. It's the involuntary reflex when there's been a head injury. They quickly ruled Lamb out. But that was the opportunity for Pickens, and he just didn't deliver. Ryan Florio did, but George Pickens didn't. And I don't know that it would have made a difference, but he just seemed off last night. And as you're getting closer and closer to your next contract, whether you get it from the Cowboys or someone else, it's more important to finish strong. Got 4 regular season games left and maybe no postseason games. No opportunities in January when most of the league is sitting home watching you and marveling at what you can do and making their budget and coming up with their targets and getting ready to tamper both legally and illegally on who they're looking for. I can't imagine the Cowboys letting him go. But every bad game, every off game, he was targeted 9 times, 5 catches for, I think that says 37 yards. I can't read my handwriting. But regardless, it wasn't the kind of game we had seen in recent weeks from George Pickens, and there was a prime opportunity there. And okay, the Lions bracket him, have an extra guy over the top. But he's special enough to beat that from time to time. And it's incumbent on the offensive coordinator to have plays ready to go, scheme things up to get the ball in the hands of a player like George Pickens. Look at what the Lions did in the first half. It's very simple to run a jet sweep and get the ball in the hands, get involved the player who knows he can make a difference. And I think there needs to be a concerted effort beyond the passing game to get the ball in George Pickens' hands. Not just that slant, because who knows what happens with that slant, including a face mask that he committed while trying to get open. But, just quick screen, jet sweep, different ways. Swing him through the backfield, throw the ball to him behind the line of scrimmage, and let him go. He's got the skills. And we saw it. We saw him hurdle the guy late in the game against the Chiefs. He's got the skills to make things happen when he has the ball. So watch those guys for the rest of the season. Jameson Williams and George Pickens. They're both special talents. And, I go all the way back to Randy Moss. When Randy Moss was on the Vikings, it was a given. They were going to get him the ball. And anytime they spotted single coverage, we're throwing him the ball. Anytime the defensive back was giving him a 10-yard cushion, we're throwing him the ball. It was all quarterback, what's the coverage on Moss? Okay, we're getting him the ball. We're getting him the ball. And that attitude, I think, needs to be there, especially with the George Pickens, if and when CeeDee Lamb isn't playing. And we'll see whether he gets cleared for next week's game when the Vikings come to town and the Cowboys try to turn this thing around.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.